doing a talk on it has a couple of phrases. One of my favorite is man as utility. That is the idea that a man um, is just what work he can do. This concept, I believe, started. Well, I originally heard it when I heard about the term objectification in feminism, which is the kind of idea that a woman is only as good as her beauty. A woman's beauty is the only value she has to offer. And that's kind of an interesting concept because we'll get back to it, but it's not true in the larger sense. I don't want to get too deep into that. And then, so if a woman is only her beauty, that's she's turned into an object if you look at her for her beauty. And the same concept is society treats men in terms of we're only our work. The amount of utility that can be gotten from us is our value to society and ultimately to ourselves often, unfortunately. I know a lot of men whose only value to themselves is their work. If they can't work, then they feel they might as well die. They might as well commit suicide. And I think that's a really bad state to be in. I think that's very sad. So the way out, I found, I guess I keep coming back to this. I talked about it before, but once again, loving kindness meditation gives you a sense of value beyond your work. You just are inherently valuable. You realize all humans are inherently valuable. And the example is of the baby, the infant. We don't ask what work an infant can do. An infant has value in and of itself. Similarly, all humans have values in and of themselves. And I don't want to get into the details. I don't want to say that people shouldn't work or arguments about welfare. I'm talking that at a very deep spiritual level, ultimately, our value is ourselves. And that seems kind of obvious once you state it, but it's actually a radical idea, again, as far as how men value themselves. An interesting thing I've noticed recently is I found that probably due to the amount of feminism rhetoric going around or something, but because there's other problems that are associated with men that women are starting to get, such as heart attacks and alcoholism. And one might think that might be due to work-related stress. But another thing that I've noticed trend with women that I've talked to is they themselves also value themselves based on their work. And so I guess that's starting to percolate through the broader community that even women are not valued in and of themselves. So I kind of stumbled on this a long time ago when I started reading spiritual works. I read Taoism, Chung Tzu, and in that book they told two stories about why being useless could be better than being useful. And that's kind of what changed my mind initially. I never connected it up with the whole idea of objectification or man as utility, or another one obviously is a man on a date is a wallet. It's how much money he can provide, which again is tied back to work ultimately. The stories are, the first story was about a tree. All the other trees were cut down for wood because they could be used to burn or to build things. They had some value, but there was this one tree that just kept growing because it had no value. So there was no point to cutting it down. No one would bother that. It was bad for making tables and it didn't burn very well. That's one example. The second one was of the man with the crippled son, and how, or it was actually a crippled man, not a crippled son, but the guy was crippled, old man, and all he did was sell firewood. That's all he could do. But when they came, so again, he seems kind of useless. He's not very good looking. He's not, he can't make a lot of money. He's not very well liked. But at the end of the day, when they came to conscript people to take them away to turn them into soldiers, all the young men, he was completely ignored because he wasn't able to walk very well and he would make a terrible soldier. So once again, the value in being useless. And again, let's not get too far. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm not saying that you should be useless or you should strive to be lazy. I think everyone should work hard. But rather, from a deep spiritual sense, even though you do work hard, you don't have to derive your inherent worth or your self-love based on that work. It can be just something that you have regardless or not of your success level. So I found the same concept to help with relationships. The people whom you should be friends with, whom you should engage with, are the ones who should value you for yourself. Once again, they shouldn't use you as utility. So you shouldn't think of yourself as a provider. That goes back to the beta provider framework, where one would try to win friends by buying them things. And here the whole concept is that you are the prize. As they say, you yourself are valuable. And that's a good way to think of yourself as well. What do you bring to the table? I mean, even some people think of themselves as being entertainers, and that's the value they provide. But even then, I think that is not the highest level of this practice. The highest level is you should assume that you're valued just because of you, because of who you are. And I don't know, this sounds like the only analogy I can think of is like a king. They don't when there's a king, they don't think of themselves as, they're not a clown, they're not an entertainer. Their value, again, a royalty, isn't in and of itself. So that's a good way of thinking of yourself, is that you bring something to the table. And if people don't like you for what just your inherent values, if you have to do something, if you feel like you're pushing or you're striving to win their friendship, then it's not working. It's not for you, or it shouldn't be. At least it wouldn't be for me. The people that value me when I am myself. And I guess that goes back to the whole concept of be yourself, which again is another rabbit hole. We'll get into it at a different time. So ultimately, the point I'm trying to make is, through loving kindness meditation, or even just contemplating this concept, you should value yourself for yourself rather than anything you can provide to others.